You, Madam Chair and Ranking Member. I guess my question deals across the board. We got all doctors here as witnesses, so the question I have simply, what federal programs are most critical to gaining a greater certainty on the future change in ice sheets and those effects on sea levels? So you can go in any order you want. Dr. Alley, you want to start?
Right. It is interagency. National Science Foundation provides so many of the people support, and they do the lead agency in the Antarctic and in some other things. NOAA, we have to have what they are doing. NASA has been a keynote on not only on Ice Bridge, which we have been talking about, but the satellite monitoring. The DOE has a role in modeling, and so it is. I've hit a lot of the high ones, but it really is the interagency. The U.S. Geological Survey, when I gave the number on how rapidly the icebergs were breaking off when John Muir was watching, that number came from the United States Geological Survey. So, so it is having these wonderful centers of excellence that you have built that live in the U.S. government and give us leadership. They are not localized in one place. They are in several agencies, and they work together. They know each other, and they can do this with support.
Thank you. I'll remind you that Madam Chair only gave me 5 minutes, so we spread that out.
Well, I will echo the NSF for understanding why, NASA for monitoring how it's changing, the USGS for incredibly important measurements of the glaciers, DIE for modeling, and NOAA for lots of information about how the ocean's changing and what the fundamental tide gauges are doing.
Thank you.
You asked about narrowing our range of what's going to happen into the future. On the science side, integrating better observations and understanding of the physical system into our models. Our models can't make up that information on their own, but I also want to reiterate that it is our emissions pathway that is going to make a tremendous difference in what that future number of sea level rise and our future number for ice loss is. That's not the science part.
Yeah, I just want to echo the comments of my colleagues here and really just add that we're doing this in Alaska already. We're getting as many people together as often as possible to try to solve some of these issues. The only way to really do this is through an interagency perspective, and there's really no other way to address such a large issue, and all of the federal government programs are critical to what we do.
Okay, well, again, I'm echoing what all of my colleagues have said, but I want to add to this. The problem of collaboration and communication between these agencies is not an easy task. One example, NSF operates on a principle that can be summarized as turn the brightest people loose on the most interesting questions. The fundamental function of NSF is to support these individual investigator-based science where each one is evaluated on its own scientific merits. It's not a mission-driven agency in the way that, say, NASA is. That has produced, it's been extraordinarily successful by letting scientists decide on what's the best thing for them to study. But in a situation like sea level rise, I think that let's put climate change generally, not just sea level rise. I think that a more coordinated approach is necessary. Back in the early 1970s, National Science Foundation had a brief program called RAN, this is Research Applied to National Needs, where basically a management structure was experimentally imposed on research programs. And it was a notable failure. Almost everybody that you talk to that knows about RAN would say, oh boy, yeah, that was a bad time at NSF, but not everybody. It's a little bit like the Manhattan Project. If the Manhattan Project had started out with the advisors saying, okay, we need to understand about atomic energy. All of you pick an interesting problem, go work on it, and come back in 5 years. That's not the way the Manhattan Project worked. And I don't think we're going to solve this problem that way either. I'm not talking about the magnitude of the project or how much money should go into it, but I am talking about coordination and the need for some really innovative thinking about how those agencies should interact. Because it's hard. It's hard to steer scientists, and it really is a herding cats problem. But particularly with all these agencies, there needs to be some really imaginative way of figuring out what gets done first and how long do we have to solve it. And I don't have any answers to that, but I think that's a really strong need.
Thank you, and I'm out of time, and I yield back.
Thank you very